Okay. Here we go. I don't know why that's the delay. Ugh. All right. Well, we're live on Facebook. There I am. I don't know what happened with that. Right? Yes. There I am. Yes. Okay. All right. Audio. All right. Gian says it sounds good. I don't know why it was delayed. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. All right. All right. Gian says it sounds good. We're live in 2 minutes. I don't understand why there's a delay. Why am I not live on X? There we go. Goodness. I have no idea. All right. Well, there we are. As we're live on X. All right. Let me check. I know we're live on YouTube, but I'll double check it just to be on the safe side. There we go. Okay. A little bit different with that. Okay. There we go. All right. There's WB. Yes. Thank you. She's excellent. Okay. Here we go. All right. We're going to start in just a moment. Just a moment. I was out. What another rainy day it is, folks. And then if I want to do that, okay. And I'll do that. I don't think I need glasses for it. But we're going to start in 1 minute. 1 minute out. Yes. I didn't realize that. Am I in the Boston Globe? Apparently. What did they quote me of saying? No one got past me. Well, we're going to begin. Okay. There we go. Folks, good afternoon. At 1:06 on yet is another rainy day. Okay. The lawyers are arguing right now inside the Karen Reed trial, but we're going to begin our broadcast. Right now, we're live on X. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. We're also live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. You can always listen online at our website, depetro.com. I'm just checking right now. I received a Google alert. Who wrote this article, by the way? All right. Well, that explains it. That I'm quoted in the Boston Globe talking about the ICE protest last night. We want the people of Los Angeles to know they're not alone. Demonstrators waved Palestinian flags. These are the Palestinian protesters last night. I am going to talk about the Karen Reed trial. But dozens of protesters wore hoodies, sunglasses, medical masks. Many declined to provide their names to the Globe for an interview. There were no arrests. Who is that? Gabriel Torres speaks during the protest. Boom, boom, boom. Where's the part? Well, I was. Maybe in an earlier article I was quoted. Now I'm looking at it, unless I'm missing it. But I think they used my tweet where I said that he was calling for violence. Enrique Sanchez, it's time to organize a massive protest. It was an open invitation to anarchy. All right, so they went with Joe Powers instead, which is fine with me. All right, and I will touch on that, by the way. No arrest. I'll tell you a little bit about who was the crowd last night. Folks, again, good afternoon. Right now, this portion of our program, here's the good news. The next 2 days are going to be very good. But today we're still suffering through. This is really remarkable stretch of rain. I just saw that it's supposed to rain this weekend, and that would be the 12th weekend in a row since March that it's rained every Saturday. One thing for sure, that there's no lack of water, and this portion of the program, folks, is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials in Garden Center, where they have annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs, hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging impatiens, pansies, marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, tropical mandevillas and hibiscus plants, screen loom mulch available, pickup and delivery, black hemlock, crushed stone. They're a full-scale nursery. Pop in and see them. Shop local. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Now, this portion of the program also brought to you by the Cowesett Inn, proud sponsors of our website. We will have some video up on that this afternoon. Folks, check it out. It also has links to all of our social media. The Cowesett Inn, 226 Cowesett Avenue in West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, plus they have the market at Cowesett, the Cowesett Inn. So I have received some of the online criticism. I'm receiving criticism for my support of ICE. That is unwavering, as I have mentioned. Listen, they are another department of law enforcement. ICE is, we have local police, we have state police, we have ATF, we have the FBI, you have Homeland Security. ICE is a government agency, and they do deserve our support. And I will touch on the protests last night, as I predicted, by the way, right? Did I say there was going to be anarchy? No. Did I say, you watch, there's going to be massive arrest? I didn't say that. Why didn't I say that? Because I knew it. Thank God I didn't waste my time and go to that thing. And I want to thank, we had two great correspondents there, members of Team One, both Carlos and Mike. Great job. We got video. We captured it. So I was able to do that because I did TV last night on the Karen Read trial. And also on top of that, for what? If I go, I have to put up with those idiots yelling and swearing at me for 2 hours. And I'm not doing that. It was different when they didn't know who I was. Listen, also, if there were going to be arrests, that's one thing. Not them marching around. As soon as I saw, I'm so glad I didn't go. As soon as I saw who was involved with the ICE protest, it's the same people that would be chanting Free Palestine. The person leading the parade, it's ludicrous. It's this trans person who would be killed in Gaza. Yet still, the people last night were the same people that are supporters of Hamas. The people last night are the same people that are anti-Semitic. See how the groups all merge? They all merge together. So again, I was going back and forth. We made the right decision. No arrests, as I predicted. Let me also just stay on schedule. This portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Folks, remember, for all your propane needs, call Propane Plus today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus, heating and cooling. It doesn't matter where you are, Rhode Island or Massachusetts, all Propane Plus. The easiest thing to do, they have a very user-friendly website. Log on at propaneplus.com, residential or commercial, type in your zip code. It's Propane Plus. All right, I will talk about the ICE protest, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Karen Read trial. And specifically, a couple things about it. And I fully recognize that not everyone's following it, but so many people have come and tuned in, and they like my coverage on it. And I want to just show. So I had been predicting that they were going to have this woman on the stand, Marie LaPosada. And what have I been saying? What have I been telling people when they were going to put her on? I remember her, LaPosada. This is a paid mercenary. This is what she does. She is a rate card. See this fraud? Darth Vader? What's with the breathing? With the moaning. What kind of witness is this? What, does she need a cigarette? Jesus, bring the oxygen tank for crying out loud. What a fraud. I remember this quack. Station nightclub fire. Alan Jackson, by the way, just misrepresented to the court. Station nightclub fire, February 2003, 100 dead. Boom, fire started on a Thursday night at 11:03. She's the state medical examiner. Let's do the timeline. I was there. We didn't have the live stream then. I was there. State medical examiner, La Posada. It sounds like in Young Frankenstein, right? When they're like, what's that? Didn't get that. The moaning. Jesus, on the microphone. But anyhow, get her an oxygen tank for crying out loud. Gee, I wonder if anybody used to smoke Marlboro Lights or Newports. Sounds like the monster in Young Frankenstein. But I remember La Posada. Oh, I remember that. Gee, why would I remember that? Fire started 11:03. State medical examiner. Now, many of you know when we're out at a crime scene, let's just say it's a shooting and it's 6 o'clock at night. By 9 o'clock at the latest, we see the ME come up. And then they're going to remove, right? They're going to remove the body. When the police have completed the whole element of the scene, they've completed it. So the fire started 11:03, station nightclub fire on a Thursday night. Take a guess when she showed up. Did she show up at 1 a.m? They started calling her right away. And this is so bizarre. I remember this. There were hearings about this. I remember talking about it with Governor Kucheri at the time. She said, I'm on my way at 1 o'clock. We have a unbelievable situation here. You're the state medical examiner. On my way. They called her at 2 o'clock. Oh, I'm on my way. I'm leaving now. 2 a.m. They called her at 3 o'clock. She's still here. I'm leaving now. She showed up 17 hours later. Think of this. Think of all the people that arrived there before she did. 6 o'clock in the morning, still not there. She told them, I'm on my way. But it gets better. 10 o'clock, noon, still no show. 100 bodies. The people were on the scene, by the way. I was there. All the bodies were in there. They're waiting for her. 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I was on the radio all day. When I get off the radio, I drove there. And they were going to have a press conference live on CNN. And as I arrived, I was on all day on the radio on HJJ. And as I'm arriving, I had recognized her. I knew who she was. I remember I said to one of the officials, is that? Yeah. I said, just arriving now. So bizarre. It's insanity. This is the expert. I hope you picked up on this lady. By the way, again, if you pay her a certain amount of money, she'll say whatever you want her to say, right? She doesn't care. And you got a hint of this. Hank Brennan, by the way, this afternoon is going to crucify this lady, and rightfully so on the stand. But her trick is she says, I didn't look at that. Did you look at the vehicle? Nope, didn't look at that. Did you go to the scene? No. Did you examine? No. Nope. See, if she doesn't look at it, she can say, I didn't look at that. Here's the real answer. She doesn't want to look at it. She doesn't look at it because then she can say, I don't know. It's limited scope. They're safe if they do limited scope. So I agree. She's saying some things that they want her to say. But the fact of the matter is, she doesn't dig deeper to get to the real answer. That's my opinion. I want to be very clear. That's my opinion on this. this. You've seen people that do very in-depth evaluations. But if you just keep saying, oh, I don't know, I didn't look at that, then your opinion, you can give your opinion because it's, as they say, limited in scope. Folks, this portion of our program brought you this portion of the program brought you by Kids Club on the Pike. Reserve the spot for your child, your grandchild this summer. Kids Club on the Pike, birthday party, before and after school, preschool. Kids Club on the Pike, right off 295, right on Plainfield Pike. Perfect. Reserve the spot for your child or your grandchild this summer. And it's starting. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's for a month. Maybe it's for the whole summer. Kids Club on the Pike Summer Camp. You're going to love it. 401-443-5336. Let's talk about the Karen Read defense. Last night I was on with one of those Karen Read people on Court TV who admittedly there's a couple things about the case that I want to just point out to people. And that is, can you imagine? There's the defendant. She's Norma Desmond. There's the crowd for the movie premiere. Karen in court. I would see her looking out the window. When I was in the courtroom, I'd see Karen Read saying, "We're all my fans." That's what she calls them. We're all my fans. All right, let's just a quick observation of the case. First, they had Colin Albert, right? Punching him. Colin Albert's not even in this case. They changed their story. What did Karen Read and all of her fans and followers, what did they tell us? Oh, they beat him to death. No motive, no murder weapon. Beat him to death in the basement. Now they have him in the garage. Why do they keep changing this story? Look at her. Look at her. And she's smirking, right? Listen, it's very simple. This is not a complicated case, as I've talked about. See her? See the big star? Do you understand? She thinks she's going to get away with this. She thinks she's going to make the circuit. She's going to be on The View. She's going to have a reality show. She thinks she's a big star. She's going to, attorneys are going to want to hire her and work on their cases and all this other stuff. Yeah, that's right. So why does the defense keep changing? You know what we've learned? The Google search is dead. That's right. The defense, Karen Read, in the defense, they're not going to challenge that the Google search never happened at 227. That's where it is right now. That at 227, there's no Google search. Now they have to bring an expert forward to say, oh no, it absolutely happened at 227. They're not doing that. They're not bringing Richard Green in to testify. No, maybe they could have Marie Lapazada testify. Who could listen to that? Do you think the jury wants to keep hearing this lady breathe all afternoon? The moaning. There's no Google search. First, they had him in the basement. Now he's in the garage. Maybe he's in the attic. Maybe he was up on the roof. Who knows where this is going to go? Maybe he fell out of a tree. Maybe Karen could testify. He got out. I think I saw him climbing a tree. He must have fallen from the tree. Folks, what does it tell you when they keep changing the story? Use your own intelligence with this. Last night, I was on Court TV, and I try to be a good sport about it. Again, there she is. Bye, Karen. All my fans. I like BZ. This woman came all the way from San Francisco. The segment on WBZ should have been, there's a mental health crisis in our country. How bad is the mental health crisis? This woman, who should be at McLean or Butler, flew in from San Francisco to support this pathological liar who's clearly is or was an alcoholic, who she doesn't even know. She flew in to wear pink and support her. Normally, that should be a story of just how people have lost their mind. Now, I'm going to tell you where this case has gone. I will circle back on the ICE protest. Don't worry. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Also, I want to also just mention this about Channel 10. I'll tell you, last night, I'm going to circle in and out. If that's a problem, I apologize in advance. But Channel 10, the team you can't trust, they did something last night. Do you know, they were carrying the protest, the ICE protest. Think of that. Let's protest. There are people in our country illegally that shouldn't be here. And the administration, finally someone's doing something about it. And last night, I don't know how many people were there, 300, 350, marching around saying open borders. That's what they're saying. Do you understand? Criminals are being deported, dangerous criminals, people wanted for murder in other countries. That's who's being deported. Let's march around, and they should not be able to remove someone just because he murdered someone in Brazil. So there's someone from Guatemala, two people protest to say the guy who's wanted for murder in Guatemala should be allowed to hide in Providence. But Channel 10, no one else will tell you this. Channel 10 actually covered the speakers live last night at the ICE protest. Channel 10. Where have you gone, Doug White? They didn't just show them marching, right? Channel 10 went live to capture people saying, blank the police. The police are all liars. Channel 10 did that. Imagine how 12 and 6 must feel. Gee, is that what we're supposed to be doing? I thought Channel 10 is the leader. Channel 10. Not, there's the reporter marching behind me like it's the Macy's Day Parade. Here are some protesters taking the street. No. No, they went live. Live on Facebook. As there's some woman saying, and these blanking cops, and they, blank the police. Channel 10 is showing that. Now, one of the things that I told our two correspondents is, we don't need to show any of the speakers. I'm not amplifying that rhetoric. I'm not amplifying that. Right? I remember 5 years ago when Channel 12, that reporter since has left the market, unvetted, put someone on live television, and he told this fable that he was a firefighter and the police profiled him, and blah, blah, blah. And it was all BS. Channel 12 almost started a riot. And I was there. And that was a very dangerous situation because there were a lot of people there that night. I mean, there were 10,000 people there that night. That's the biggest protest. But Channel 10 last night, you don't give a voice to those people. Sunday, I was at Pawtucket. Now, we've learned one shot was fired on Sunday in Pawtucket. One shot, and it hit the guy in the shoulder. If I had gone into the crowd, there were people there saying 8 shots. I heard, remember there was a guy behind me, bang, 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 bang. He kept saying that. People were saying, you should interview the guy. I said, we don't know. It's not vetted. I'm not doing that. That could, that's very inflammatory. He was unarmed. When I first got to Pawtucket, they were saying it's a kid, and he was unarmed, and the cop shot him 8 times. Now, first of all, I said, I don't, what are you talking about? One shot. See, think of that. I vetted Pawtucket on Sunday. Channel 10. They're highlighting the speakers and blank the police and blank Trump. I'm obviously not going to use the language. Channel 10 was highlighting that. I'm telling you, folks. All right. I want to mention something about this Karen Read trial, and I will talk about the ICE protest, but this portion of the program, folks, brought to you by Watson Materials. Give them a call. Remember, Largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson. 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. Watson Materials. All your outdoor. Call Sean. Request a quote. Now listen, maybe you're a contractor. I'll bet they have what you're looking for, whether it's landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials. The most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them 401-885-0600 with Watson Materials. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, I was not selected. The media, it changes, so I can't complain. As far as the Karen Read trial, I mean, I've been in more than anyone. Right now, if I am selected, I'll go back in. I have not been selected, and it's a randomizer type thing, so it's nothing personal. I mean, but I basically was in there for the end of April and then all of May, and this actually has kind of been a nice break. It allows me to also see the trial from a different perspective, and it also allows me to catch up on some things, and I am talking to people inside the courtroom, and I'm going to tell you what I think right now. But I want to remind you, before I talk about that, with ServPro of Providence. Folks, give them a call today, 401-941-5500. ServPro of Providence. When disaster strikes, fire, flood, mold, 24/7, you can depend. ServPro of Providence, 401-941-5500. Again, for your commercial building or home, disaster strikes, you find, oh my God, we have mold. Oh my God, we had a fire. Pipe bursts. We have all this water damage. ServPro of Providence. That's who I would call. 401-941-5500. Where do things stand with the Karen Read trial? I was on Court TV last night, and the person I was on with is one of these people that they try to break it down. They think the jury is going to sit down and go through every little minutia. Folks, it doesn't work that way. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Let me tell you about the jury that I have seen. And the jury that I've seen in talking to different people, listen, this has been going on now. They were told 6 to 8 weeks. The jury's at the breaking point. The jury is cooped up with all these people. It's 18 of them. And it's the same people day after day. And they have to sit through all this testimony. And they're getting tired. And it's exhausting. And they've done their part. They've done their civic duty. But they're ready for this to end. And Hank Brennan, the special prosecutor, has carved together a very strong narrative with evidence of what happened that night. And what happened in the narrative that is in the courtroom is that heavy night of drinking. Karen Read said they had been fighting. We saw the text messages, fighting that day. The niece testified. The relationship had run its course. Karen Read's hitting on Higgins. And then that night, she went forward and then backwards. That's the data. And left him there to die. And it was intentional. It wasn't an accident. Now, there are some people, I have covered trials where there's one eyewitness, and they weren't even a perfect witness. But the person that was accused that was on trial had motive, means, and opportunity. Never forget that. Motive, means, and opportunity. It always comes back to that. Who was the last person with John O'Keefe? Karen Read. Did she have the opportunity to do it? Yes. Yes, she did. She was the last one with him. Did she have the means to do it? Yes, a 6,000-pound vehicle. And as far as the motive, you heard the voicemail. She was upset. She was upset. They had been fighting. It was alcohol-fueled rage. And she went forward and back. And as Karen Read said, when I saw him, he didn't look mortally wounded as I drove past him. Why? Well, as Dr. Lapazada said, another medic, and Dr. Wolf said, the brain surgeon, that the body is, you could be unconscious, but your body is having a seizure and the legs and arms are moving. That's why Karen thought, okay, well, he's moving. I'll grant you, maybe she didn't realize how hard his head hit the ground. But the act was intentional. There are some people out there, and I was on television last night with one, and I'm not going to, listen, I spent a lot of time at the People Court TV when they came in and did the live shows. I was on every night. I was with them every night. I was in court with them. I'm not going to do a throwdown and disrupt their program. I try to be a good guest. I let the other people talk when they're supposed to talk. I answer the question that is put to me. I'll be on tomorrow morning with Julie Grant. I don't try to hijack the program, but there are some people that think, and this is false, by the way. First of all, I'll finish. No, I want to just touch on that. There are some people, you can't lose sight of this, like this NPR person. They hate the police, and she's a woman, and these cops. They don't view John O'Keefe as a son, and they don't view him as a brother. They don't view him as a legal guardian. They view him as a cop. And there's a bunch of cops, and they're going after her. That's how they view the whole thing. That's how they view it. That they have a negative thing towards cops, towards police, and they don't see him as a son. They view him as he's a cop, and they're going after her because she killed the cop, and blah, blah, blah. That's why you get the progressive NPR demented view of this. That's why there are a lot of people that are anti-police. I encounter them at the courthouse. The Karen Read movement is anti-police. They're anti-government. It attracts people like that. It attracts all kinds. But that's part of their motivation, is that it attracts that. But what I'm telling you is the jury, to me, has hit the wall. And the judge was not wrong. The judge was not wrong when the judge said that, Judge Cannoni said that you're wasting our time. The defense is wasting time for the jury. Hank Brennan doesn't waste their time. So, but some people view this as that someone's accused of robbing a bank. And did they eat that morning? Yeah, we think what'd they have? What'd they have in their omelet? Did they shower before the bank robbery? Where did they buy the sneakers they wanted? They think that unless you can perfectly recreate exactly, here's their view, like the kook from last night, unless you can perfectly recreate exactly how it happened, that is not reasonable doubt. There's no crime that is perfectly recreated. If the bank robber says, wrong, I did not have an omelet that morning, I had French toast, therefore it doesn't blanking matter. There are taillight fibers in his clothing. God almighty, these people. Well, if you break it down, see the hole in the what do you mean hole in the sweatshirt? We watched the demonstration. If you take two plates and drop them in your kitchen, I don't encourage the experiment, but if you do that experiment on a hard surface, they're not going to break the same. It doesn't mean it's not broken. So these people have a false sense of how our system works. And they're trying to tell other people, oh, unless you can perfectly recreate exactly, that's not it. You could never perfectly recreate exactly what happened. And again, I'll point to the Simpson case. So, OJ, no, you're wrong. I didn't stab him 30 times. I only stabbed Ron Goldman 27 times. That's reasonable doubt. That's not reasonable doubt. You still stabbed him. There's not a lot of his blood in the Bronco, so you must look. What are you talking about? The bank robber did not have an omelet that morning. He had French toast. You claim he got up and showered. Actually, he didn't shower. He took a bath. What are you this is semantics we're talking about here. Listen, she went forward backed up and left him there. And I get the whole thing. Well, she didn't, that wasn't an accident. She didn't go forward by accident, and she certainly didn't back up by accident. Well, she didn't know he hit his head. That's not, this is about intent. But don't say it's an accident. Now, this Lopezada, the breather on the stand. Well, I don't think he didn't get hit by a car. She didn't even look at the results. You know why? Because she wants to be able to take the stand and say, well, it doesn't look like he got hit by a vehicle. Folks, you've heard the expression, how about if you've ever worked for someone, I don't know and I don't want to know. Plausible deniability. So the breather, right? Darth Vader, she, if you are a real expert, you want to see every piece. I want to see every piece of evidence here. She doesn't want that. No, mum's the word. Less is better. Less is better. Right? That's her mindset. That's how they treat their experts. The more you show her, it could change her opinion. So, and she's an expert, Lopezada. They could have used her the night of the Station nightclub fire. How about she left 1,700 bodies at the morgue? I remember that scandal. That's why she was fired. Listen, it takes a lot to get fired as the Rhode Island State Medical Examiner. Trust me. I don't know what exactly was going on, but she was not a hero with the Station nightclub fire. She completely dropped the ball. I remember that very well. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call them today, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Now remember, they could seal coat a driveway. They can also offer crack filling, line striping in a parking lot. They can make your pavement look like new. They do pickleball, tennis, basketball resurfacing. They epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring. Call them. They also have great social media presence. It's Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. 401-283-9815. Call Corey. 401-283-9815. Now, this portion of the program also, wait a minute, brought to you by, yes, you guessed it, Arch Design Builders. They specialize. 401-207-4124, 401-207-4124, Arch Design Builders, whether it's for a new kitchen or a new basement or a new redo your basement or bathroom. Ed and Roxanne, special project or your deck, Arch Design Builders. Custom build high-end. Custom build and high-end customer service. Call Ed and Roxanne, my friends. I think the world of them. Call them 401-218-9707. I want to mention this about the Karen Read trial. And listen, I'm well aware of what's being included and what's not being included. So there's two different things happening here. You have inside the courtroom, and then you have what's happening outside the courtroom. But what I'm trying to suggest is you can't ignore, unless you have blinders on, that if you're a Karen Read supporter, aren't you a little suspect that the defense has abandoned the conspiracy? What happened to the conspiracy? They're not even trying anymore. Notice that, maybe people don't know what to make of it. It has nothing to do with the judge. There's no evidence for that. By the way, I predicted this. They made that up. They're allowed to make it up. Not to the extent they did, where they were intimidating people and terrorizing people. That there's going to be repercussions. But notice there's nothing about Brian Albert here. There's nothing about Colin Albert here. Don't you find that suspect? Oh, the judge won't what? There's no evidence. Don't you? If you're a die-hard Karen Read supporter, I don't get it. I don't get how there isn't a curiosity of Garage since 23. Now this happened in 22. The story, boom, came out. Karen started putting it out there in April, May of 23. a year later, wouldn't you be curious that, wait a minute, there were people, we heard about the basement. They killed him in the basement. They used the weight bench. Remember, maybe some people do, maybe you don't. There was blood on the doorknob to the basement. They brought him out the bulkhead. Karen spends $5,000 a month to preserve the carpet to have it tested. Don't you find it a little slightly suspicious that now they're saying no, there was the garage. They went in the garage. You said the basement. My point is, and again, everyone, I'm not trying to convince anyone. I would find it very suspicious that they're moving the location. There's no mention of Colin Albert. Now he fell backwards. Now the new defense is a dog attacked him. A dog bit him. He fell backwards and hit his head at the end of the driveway. That's what they're arguing. Do you understand right now, on this day, they're not talking about the Canton police who are involved with the cover-up. They're not even talking about Michael Proctor. They're now changing their story to a dog bit him, a dog, any dog, a neighbor's dog, a stray dog, a coyote, an animal bit him. He fell back and hit his head. And that's what so if you're a supporter, doesn't that make you somewhat suspicious? They've abandoned the 227 Google search. They're ceding the point on that. And I want to be very clear. See, to me, the Google search is a litmus test. If you still believe that, you're not looking for the truth. Do you understand? Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde, they testified that the first time How Long to Die in the Cold was Googled was at 6:23. Now, if the defense wants to challenge that, this is their opportunity for them to bring someone in. They've talked to a bunch of different people. Guess what's happened? They can't find anyone that will look at the data and say, you know what? That did happen. No, that happened at 2:27. They can't find that. The defense is conceding that the Google search didn't happen at 2:27. By the way, this isn't my opinion. That's what's in evidence. So wouldn't that make you question, like, well, wait a minute, that also didn't happen. So it wasn't in the basement. There was no teenager involved, and there's no 2:27. It's now evolved into an animal bit his arm, he fell back and hit his head. And that is what they're arguing is reasonable doubt. In other words, there's no more conspiracy. If there's no more conspiracy, why were they harassing all of the witnesses? Again, everyone can come to their own conclusion. I'm just saying, I think a reasonable person would say, wouldn't that make you somewhat skeptical? Someone keeps, maybe not changing their timeline. I think it would. So in the person that I was on Court TV last night, that person who they rely on as their source, if you use pathological liars as your means of sources, that's all you're going to get. Then that's how you're going to arrive at your conclusion. But there are some people that are more comfortable in that zone, if you will. They're more comfortable in that world. They want to just keep finding tidbits to keep feeding that false narrative. I mean, I think that's very obvious at this point. I think it's interesting. There are people on the outside that are discovering the case, and they're saying, I don't get it. There are people, not me, but there are people that say, I started to follow this. I don't understand what all these people are talking about. It's very obvious she hit him. The statements and clips where she's talking about she hit him, that she clipped him. How about Karen Reed, Court TV this morning? Julie Grant had a great segment where she had a guest on, and notice Karen Reed always tries to parse words. I didn't think I hit him. Boy, that sounds an awful lot like Bill Clinton. It depends on what the definition of is. I didn't think I hit him. Did you think you hit him? Well, I didn't think I hit him. That's what it is. Don't you get it? It's fake. She said, did I? I didn't say I hit him. It was preceded by a did and then followed by a question mark. It wasn't I hit him. It was did I hit? She's always parsing words, this one, Karen Reed. I said, I didn't say I hit him. I said I hit him. What does that even mean? It's Clinton. It depends on what the definition of is. Bill Clinton, well, one person could be having sex with another, but that person's not having sex with that person. All right, if you want to go down that road, folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by, where are we? Yes. Don't forget JD Lawn Care. What a fantastic job they're doing. They have a great season, by the way. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service, whether it's you're an individual or you're a commercial enterprise, give them a call. They do such a fantastic job. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service. Look for them on Facebook or call them 401-441-0154. 401-441-0154. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service. So the Karen Reed trial, it's going to continue, and Hank Brennan is going to start to dismantle this fraud. Dr. Lapizada, who is clearly, you can always tell, Karen's like smirking. She likes this. She likes when her witnesses push back. She likes when her witnesses fight. She is, and I want to remind people that here's the news. Hank Brennan is going to challenge that this expert, Marie Lapizada, she was heroic with the Station nightclub fire. Fraud. Wrong. Watch. I've been saying it. Watch. I remember. I was there that day. No one covered that situation, that tragedy, more than I did. And Lapizada, there was never legitimate. I still to this day. People that were involved at the time. She never showed up. She showed up 17 hours later. How was I there before the state medical examiner, like a lot of other people? It's ludicrous. I'm going to finish with the protesters, but listen, here's what you need to know. As I've said, the defense, they have Yannetti, who wastes a lot of time. They have Jackson, who's been pretty slippery. I feel very confident. If you want to know what's really going on, and I would tell you differently, Hank Brennan has presented for the jury a very strong narrative. And I'm telling you, as someone that spent more time in that courtroom than any other member of the media, this jury, they believe the narrative that Hank Brennan has established. I'm not saying the defense, they have this witness and they have another witness. I'm not saying through that, in closing argument, I'm not saying that they don't have a chance, that Alan Jackson could say something that would give them pause. It's possible. It's totally possible. But make no mistake about it. Whatever happened outside that house, by that flagpole. How many times did we see Rescue Randy getting dragged all over the place? What happened was Karen Reed. It involved her SUV, and it involved John O'Keefe, and it involved that taillight. The jury is not dismissing Jen McCabe. The jury's not dismissing Kerry Roberts. The jury's not dismissing Nuttall and Katie McLaughlin and the other paramedic. They're not dismissing those things. They're not dismissing Dr. Welcher. They're not dismissing Dr. Wolf. And they're not dismissing the Karen clips. She talks about, may I clipped him? Really? That's really interesting. If he went in the house, how could you have clipped him? If you saw him go in the house. Remember, her denials outside of court, they're not being seen by the jury. So what? So yesterday, the Commonwealth, they made a mistake. They owed up to it. The judge felt an obligation, like a makeup call. But that whole Alessi temper tantrum where he's OJ with the black gloves, the jury never saw that. They never saw that. It moves on. Folks, this is going on. There's 8 weeks. And this is, as I've told you, this is a video trial. This is a very 2025 trial. I've covered trials. There's one eyewitness. I've covered trials with a powerful witness with someone that had been a gang member. I've been in trials where they bring in the witness who's in witness protection, and then the jury makes the decision, and then they use all the evidence. A lot of the Karen Read people, they just pick little things out, like the kook from NPR. Unless you can prove, it's not like that. Something happened. John's dead. He was found. She knew where to find him. She even said, and then we found him right where I left him. She said that. Karen Read said that. There's no such thing as an exact replication of what happened. It doesn't work that way. By the way, there doesn't have to be. Right? We don't know exactly everything that happened on 9/11, but we have a pretty good idea of what happened on 9/11. No, you don't have, they go for these minute details. The jury is sitting there saying, I think we have a pretty good idea of what happened. And we've watched video of what happened. That's how it's decided. The jury doesn't break this down like it's a board game. Nope, you can't come to that conclusion because it doesn't work that way. Like I said, if there's a bank robbery, they don't have to know what he had for breakfast or whether he took a shower or a bath. They know that guy is on video and there's witnesses that saw him go into the bank. Then they found him with the money. You can't print that. Listen, there's taillight fibers in his clothing. You think that's a coincidence? God almighty, he's in a debris field of taillight. These people are delusional. That's reasonable. That's not reasonable doubt. Let me also just mention this, and I was on with Kevin Yellow Cottage earlier. I meant to mention this. Listen, I'll tell you what I think could be reasonable doubt. Just some examples. I'm sure there's plenty of it. But if they had video of Karen saying, I didn't think it was a good idea to go to the bar with those people because, and maybe there was a fight and John said that he didn't like those people. And I didn't think it was a good idea to go in the house because the people in the house had criminal records. They were known to have firearms. There'd been a party where someone was killed there, whatever. Like that, you could be setting up an example of, I didn't think it was a good idea to go there, that these are dangerous people. Let's just say inside the house, they were drug dealers, they were criminals, they were gang members. So that, I think you could open the door of, I didn't think it was a good idea to go. I dropped him off. He was supposed to go in, pick up the drugs. Then you're opening the door possibly to something happened, right? They suspected he was an informant. He didn't have the right amount of money. He was trying to rip them off with drugs. Those are things that you put, not this, not a birthday party. It wasn't even a cop party. It was a birthday party. And there's all these people coming and going. It's not, it's not the Bloods or the Crips. It's the McCabe's and the Alberts. Like, this is ludicrous. That could be. If Karen said, I had heavy reservations at the bar, John was saying, hey, they've taken out some pretty powerful people. They're wanted gang members. They've killed people. They're known drug like that. I had heavy reservations. I had strong reservations going there because I know they were wanted by the police. I know they'd killed others. I know John had done time with them, right? How about the guy that was killed on Admiral Street last year? He runs into someone that he did time with. The guy's like, hey, you got out kind of early. And the guy starts thinking and piecing together, like, I think that guy that was taken out on Admiral, yeah, I think he's a snitch. I heard he was a snitch. He is out. But it's not that. Her whole story is ludicrous. Well, I told him to go in and check it out. And then he didn't come, so I drove away and I decided to leave all these messages for him. Like, it's crazy. These people have lost their blinking mind. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Hey, get your driveway paved. Free estimate, any project, J. Perry Paving. Call them 401-732-1730. 401-732, letter J. Look for them online. J. Perry Paving. Now, J. Perry Paving has been sponsors for a long time. No one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. Give them a call, 401 732 1730. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. Father's Day is coming up actually next week. They have a great package for veterans. Or maybe you're just listening or watching right now. You want to get your driveway paved. Maybe you served in the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, ICE. They have a great package for you. J. Perry Paving. Call them today. Free estimate, by the way. 401 732 1730 for J. Perry Paving. I just want to finish with, there we go. Last night, so they have the big, protest and so forth. And like I said, I think, wrong one. Sorry. Well, anyway, all right. I thought I had the ICE protest. But anyhow, folks, the whole thing, there were no arrests. It was just an excuse to yell about the police. That's what it was. Now, listen, I believe we're doing Road Patrol Live later. I think so. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. You don't want to miss this. Hank Brennan, though, is going to tune up Darth Vader on the stand. You have been listening. Yes, we'll be seeing you later on Road Patrol Live.